Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lyon Township Planning Commission meeting for Monday, March 9th, 2026. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Kelly, if you would take roll, please.
Patricia Narcomi.
Here.
Jim Scott.
Here.
Michael Conflitti.
Here.
Ron Filipowski.
Here.
Ron Jennington.
Here.
Kurt Ratke.
Here.
Carl Towns.
Here.
All right, very good. Approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted. Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval consent agenda, February 9th, 2026 minutes.
Motion to approve as submitted.
Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. All right, next, see many familiar faces. Comments from the public. If you'd like to come up, and this will be for a non-agenda item that's on our packet tonight. You'll have a chance to speak about that after the presentation if you like. Name and if you would.
Doug Whitlack, New Hudson, Michigan. My question is regarding Light Industrial 1 and General Industrial 2. Regarding the data center, how can it possibly stay Light Industrial 1 and General Industrial 2, okay, if there's no land banking? It's now a special use. Based upon that, in addition to that, McKenna represents roughly 200 communities in Michigan and Ohio. They've been and aware of data centers since 2015, 2016. Was the Planning Commission or anybody at the township notified regarding the fact is that something like this could happen in the community? Back to the plan. If it stays Light Industrial 1, Light Industrial 2, that data center could only be half as big as what it is because there would be required land banking in order for it to stay that. Otherwise, it's just general and special use for the data center only. There's no restoring of the property once the data center's gone. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick, Mr. Chair, the person that controls the timer,
Yes.
do we know who they are?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
That's me.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nancy. I live by Haas Lake, so I'm pretty close. I'm coming to each one of the boards to talk about the closed loop system. I emailed every one of you, and I got 3 responses. I've talked to engineering. She can't answer my question. How is this closed loop system going to be cleaned and how often? Talked to Varus last week. He told me, well, don't worry about it. It's just got dirt. It's just dirt and water. I'm like, okay, that's all there is. So I'm like, somebody's got to know something somewhere. So Brian Kesey comes to the rescue here. He puts out a document when he put out for the data center. And according to this documentation, this, got to get how many gallons it's going to have per year, 1.5 million gallons per building of municipal water annually it's going to use. So what's going to be in it? They say, well, it's only got a couple of tablespoons of 1.1 million gallons of what? It is corrosive inhibitors, scale inhibitors, biocides, and pH adjusters. But don't worry, this is like what you find in natural nutritional supplements, baby diapers, and household soaps, and swimming pools. Now, I just don't feel this is enough for us to know. We need transparency. We need to know exactly what that is. And by the way, they're throwing that in the septic or the sewer systems. Yeah, because that's where it's going. But that's okay because they feel confident, according to the documentation, that it is within the limits of the township's treatment plant. But it's kind of vague. It doesn't really say that's where they're putting it, so they could be putting it on the ground. So how can we let a data center come in with this kind of information and not give us true facts? We need honesty. You know, we need to know what's going on. But nobody knows here. None of you boards know. Not one. The engineer doesn't know. I've talked to her. She sent me a nice little email. I'm sorry, Nancy, I can't help you. Who can I ask? I went to Eagle. She goes, well, wait till they start asking for permits and then we'll find out for you. Oh, really? That's our answer? So I'm kind of disappointed for just a couple of tablespoons of a corrosive additive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Frank Tartaglia, Martindale Road. I sent this document to Michelle Cash, John Dolan, and Matt Zielinski, the township attorney. It's about outstanding conditions and required safeguards. So as a follow-up to our previous speaker, basically what I'm looking for prior to final approval is noise and sound impact studies, including the 24 operation, mechanical systems, and emergency generators, water usage and capacity studies, including peak demand, long-term draw impacts in residential supply and fire suppression, stormwater drainage analysis. So you heard all the other additives on a closed loop system. Traffic impact studies, including the truck volumes, the peak hour impacts, school proximity, and the road wear conditions, and the overall environmental impact review. I think it's incumbent upon this board and this township and the trustees to insist upon all of these guarantees and studies prior to any further progression of this data center, as well as a performance bond which ensures completion of all approved improvements and restoration bond in case they go out of business, which Elon Musk is on track to putting them out of business. He's going to put 100 data centers up in space. So in 5 years, this thing's going to be a relic. So that's, I have not seen any response from the three individuals that I've documented here. So I want to ensure that we have the appropriate guardrails. And as part of the Planning Commission, this is the group that really needs to enforce those guardrails from a legal, financial, and public health and safety perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Watson. I'm a Lyon Township resident. I just wanted to bring up a couple points and questions. First, about NDAs. Wallbridge has gone on record publicly stating that they cannot speak because they have an NDA on this project. And we're asking for clarification. Is that with Veris or with the township? No one has been able to answer those questions directly to residents. It was suggested last week that they don't have a NDA, so we're just trying to understand because those two statements can't be true. I think this commission should ask for that to be clarified in writing. Second, with generators, the January 2026 final site plan submitted by Wallbridge and Veris removed generator symbols from the drawings, but they've retained all the infrastructure and capacity to support them. The draft ordinance before you tonight, that I know is on the agenda later, restricts generator to life safety systems only, but I'm formally requesting that the commission put on record that any future addition of generators to that project constitutes a material modification to the plan, requires a full site plan review, and a new independent sound study that includes generators in it with a new public process. Third, tax benefits. We've been told repeatedly that this is a tax benefit to the community, but we've never been shown and seen that this commission has done a review of the actual tax history on these parcels. Walbridge has owned this land for 40 years. If the revenue is minimal because the land has been undeveloped, the incremental benefit of this project can look very different to what we're being sold. That should be something that's made available to the public. And the last point I wanted to make is regarding Walbridge's construction record. Currently, at the Saline Township Stargate project, which is also a Walbridge site, the township attorney has already formally raised violations with Walbridge for construction violations for dirt tracked onto US 12 and trucks using unauthorized road access for build, which is a very big concern for us for Milford Road. One subcontractor has already been dismissed from the project due to multiple violations. In Virginia, Walbridge Aldinger was cited by the State Department of Environmental Quality for stormwater violations at a Microsoft data plant that they did there. They failed to maintain erosion controls and protect Allen Creek tributaries, and it took them 6 months after having been escalated with secondary and third notifications to have that resolved, which is also a big concern of ours with the new Hudson Drain. If Walbridge owns the land and they're their own GC, who's policing this? How is it going to be watched? It's very concerning to us. Lyon Township's 172-acre site is adjacent to resident wells, the new Hudson Drain watershed, and 4 educational facilities. A contractor with documented violations on active data center sites is asking us to give them trust that they have not earned. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay. Has there been, and do we know who all, I'm Amy, the other board has seen me regularly, who can draw from the aquifer that we're drawing from? Has there been a study on what that aquifer's life existence is? We need that. We also need I have a hard time with this word, a cumulative study. And if that's not been done, that needs to be done. We have Coyote coming up, we have other developments coming up. We just did the whole Kensington Ridge. Those are all in process that we haven't even accounted for, the draw on our water system, plus everything that we've done already. And do we have that capacity, not only in our plants, but in the water in our ground to support all of this? That seems to be one of the biggest problems in these communities that we are all hearing about, that their wells are being sucked dry. They have to bring in water to flush their toilets. They live in a home that is completely plumbed for water and no water to use. That's unacceptable. That's not what we bought our houses out in the country for, is to have our water sucked dry. There's commercial going in that's taking water. There's also been comments on sites that the water that they're actually using to build these sites is higher than the water that they're going to use when it's running because of re-emitting the dust and all the construction stuff. And I'm sorry I talk with my hands, but I hope the township is using a place called the Michigan Township Association and their supply of lawyers that can be helping us with this. Not only our lawyer, which hopefully is working for us, but they have obviously all over Michigan different townships that are dealing with this, and maybe there's things they can help us with. So if someone could check into these people. And noise study. We're gonna do a noise study. But again, it's accumulative. I got it. It's accumulative. We're going to be under construction for 4, 5, 6 years, just building this. You have the construction and all the noise from building, I think they were 3, 4, 5 years to build out Tribute to Coyote. You put that noise on top of this noise, on top of the general noise we have out there, and any other subdivision or construction going on. And it's gonna be craziness. So I hope someone will think about that in what they're doing. And I still don't know how this got as far as it got without one part of our community, the board, the DDA, and the Planning Commission, all not knowing what was going on. I heard one vote is what passed it in your group. That was the board's liaison, which I would have thought they would have had a discussion about it, and that liaison should have been what the board wanted to do, not what one person wanted to do. And I still don't know how this is a good thing for our community. You've heard all of us talking, and it's not what we want. And I don't understand how just because it fits in a square, it can be approved. There has to be some consideration to the damage that it's also carrying, that not just it fits all the ordinances and all the zoning.
It doesn't.
But how can it still pass the smell test? So please, please stop this. And just a little side note, we started something with Iran. And the whole country has 15 to 20 data centers. And guess who we've already bombed? Data centers. What do you think you're doing to us? All these big things are going to be supplying information to the military. And we're all going to be targets. And it's going to be in our backyard, not in a field someplace miles from civilization.
Thank you.
Please, do the right thing.
Good evening, Shelley Thorson, Stan Cross. I'm kind of curious how many of you live within a mile of this proposed data center? Nobody up there? Wow. So I am really appreciative that we are going to go forward, hopefully, and put some expectations on rezoning to make it more appropriate. So I do appreciate making it a defensible ordinance, but I am also concerned about the special land use. I'd like to have clearer performance standards for noise, energy, water use, so buffering phases. But I am also concerned about the 6 years of traffic under construction. What are we gonna do to keep Grand River in good shape? Because that's the only way to get to it. I mean, Grand River's already kind of a mess. What are you guys doing to ensure our roads stay usable when there's gonna be truck after truck after truck? And, you know, the whole water thing, obviously that's everybody's big concern too. I'm on a well. Are any of you guys on a well? Any of you? None of you are within a mile of it either. And I was also really disheartened last week when one of the Downtown Development Authority persons was sitting with the company at the meeting, practically holding his hand. And DDA, isn't that supposed to represent the people of this community, not the companies coming in to destroy our quality of life? Thank you for your time.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Susan. I live off of 11 Mile in Martindale. I know the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees have done their homework, but are my fellow residents aware of two major projects that have been canceled? One, the Goshen Project in Green Township electric vehicle plant in Big Rapids was controversial due to ties with the Chinese Communist Party. Environmental concerns regarding water usage, potential leaks to forced labor. The proposed $2.4 billion electric vehicle plant faced massive backlash, leading to political, legal, and community-based standoff that ultimately caused the state determined the project in October of 2025. But they were not the first one. The first project that was stopped was the SanDisk project. SanDisk was not identified to a specific battery purchasing source, but its proposed $63 billion semiconductor factory was canceled in Mundy Township near Flint in July of 2025. I personally have contacted several state reps for help. I've brought projects to the attention of the Planning Commission and to ask Veris Walbridge the following. 1, have state funding incentives been provided to Veris and Walbridge? How much and why won't Veris state where the lithium batteries are being purchased from? Is it China? I'm going to repeat a couple things that my previous residents have already said. Why did Walbridge have an NDA issued at the Board of Trustees meeting on March 2nd? We need to know which parties the NDA is between. A member of the Planning Commission is from Walbridge. How much input did he influence this project to proceed? How many substations are being built? Is a generator being considered as a backup? A sound test is only a projection. An actual sound test can only be provided when the unit is up and running. If the Planning Commission can't cancel Project Flex or retroactively undo a conditional approval, we, the public, have already requested a moratorium at the Board of Trustees meeting on March 2nd. Now the residents' next step is to contact our state reps, along with representatives from Congress and the state, to stop Project Flex from putting a data center in a residential area. We need to know if proposed funding incentives have been issued. Are there ties to Chinese firms for the lithium batteries? We are entitled to honesty and upfront answers. We put our faith in our Planning Commission to do their due diligence on upcoming projects. Who pushed this backdoor Flex project so quickly? Are the residents spinning our wheels for nothing? Thank you for your time.
Robin Allen, Tyndale Trail. I just want to say, appreciate the township agreeing to record Planning Commission meetings in addition to the township board meetings. And I believe DDA meetings also. I would, in addition, ask that the zoning board meetings also be recorded. So I just wanted to give you kudos for doing that. Veris has 33 total employees, yet the township agreed to approve this in one meeting. Noise study. I would hope, with all the technology nowadays, that we could get some way for the public, residents, to be able to go online, push a button to see what the noise is coming from Veris's data center. If this goes through, without depending on the police or whoever to come out and take a reading. What was the other thing? I guess that's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great, thank you for your comments. Everyone will have a chance to speak after our presentation on first draft.
Good evening. My name is William Lawrence. I'm from Lansing. I'm here to support Lyon Township residents in their opposition to the hyperscale data center. I'm also a candidate for U.S. Congress to represent the 7th District, which includes Lansing and Lyon Township, and our current representative, Tom Barrett, has not had a peep to say about the threat that data centers represent to our people, our economy, and our air and water. I hear Lyon Township residents, like others across the state, questioning the condition of our democracy. If powerful corporations can advance their interests under the shroud of secrecy without any meaningful public engagement. So I hope you do the right thing here in Lyon Township. But we also need to go further beyond just playing whack-a-mole town by town, and I'm hearing it all over the state. We need a federal moratorium on new data center construction and the establishment of a House committee on AI oversight. Whether you think that AI is a job killer, the largest economic bubble in history, some sort of machine god, or maybe all of the above, we can agree that there ought to be some sort of oversight, and we can slow this process down and to ensure that appropriate guardrails are put in place. I drove here from Lansing this evening, and I put nearly $4 per gallon to fill up my car because of a war happening that nobody asked for. And we've learned in recent weeks that AI is being used to fight this war. We've previously seen reporting that AI is being used to surveil the American people. We know that it is harming literacy and critical thinking skills in our schools and fueling a mental health crisis for people of all ages. And I can imagine a world in which AI is utilized for the benefit of humanity and the planet and would result in a healthier and smarter and more leisurely existence for all of us, which I would love. But I am certain that we do not live in that world right now, because all of the incentives in place are driving this development pathway towards the profitability of a very small number of billionaires in Silicon Valley and political insiders in DC and whoever they're collectively able to buy off here in Michigan and around the country. So I hope you will do the right thing. Communities around the state are getting wise and pushing back. I hope you will extend the 6-month moratorium and repeal the previous permit granted to Project Flex. Thank you.
Julianne Sleek. I'm a resident of Lyon Township. I live in Mill River, which will basically be directly across the street from this proposed development. I'd like to read you something from the Lyon Township 2024 Master Plan, and that is, in the township's words, the airport impact. General characteristics, and just so everyone is aware, this is right in the flight path of the airport. I live right by there. I drive down Milford Road and see planes come right across that property. So airport impact general characteristics. The airport impact designation is reserved for properties in close proximity to the airport, with potential impacts associated with the flight patterns of aircraft in the vicinity. While the properties in this area may be impacted by airport and FAA recommendations, this will not always prove true. Uses will be low density in nature with relatively little traffic, low numbers of visitors, and low daytime population density. Appropriate land uses. Low intensity uses are desired here, including single-family residential development, agriculture uses, but not agritourism, storage buildings, airplane hangars, and other uses that could supplement or be of service to the airport. Streets and transportation. Streets shall be for private access only. Public and high traffic streets are not desired. Building and site design. Buildings should be designed in accordance with the airport's hazard mitigation standards with low heights in the restricted flight paths. Building lights may be necessary to comply with FAA standards for hazard lighting. Appropriate zoning districts are based on proximity to the airport and flight impact zones, not direct zoning. So it has come to my attention that Veris did not get approval through the FAA prior to getting approval from you. So that is still to be determined, and I would assume that would mean they need to come back to you after they receive approval. And then also, just in reviewing your master plan, I don't know a lot about planning in townships. I'm assuming you guys do since you're on this commission. But I'm really confused at why your master plan, which seems like you put a lot of effort into every time you redo it, while the zoning is so different from your master plan. Why are you not looking to marry those two better? Because this was originally agriculture and has been agriculture for years, and it's zoned industrial, modern industrial, but yet it's modern mixed use on your zoning or on your planning map. So I just don't understand, if you wanted it to be modern mixed use, why did you not make an effort to change that? So.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. I'm sure you'll all stick around to the end. Next, we have Amy. The DDA report.
Good evening, everyone. Just some updates since our last meeting. I did pass out some informational sheets to all of the board members there, just to give you a breakdown of some of the statistics from last year. Just to highlight a few of those things, we did business involvement by the numbers throughout the various projects and events that we ran last year. We had over 89 businesses participating, 39 of which were located in the DDA. We had 11 new businesses that opened up in the DDA district. And breaking down our volunteer service by the numbers, we had over 75 volunteers take part in programs and events, and they had dedicated over 900 hours of service. So we are very thankful to all those that stepped up to help out last year. I also had the opportunity to attend with our board chair the annual Michigan Retail Conference that was in Birmingham. Brought back some great information from that. Working still with the board on our Main Street USA accreditation evaluations. Those will be due the first week of April. We are finalizing our Detroit Institute of Arts program. We have 8 installations that'll be going up in the community this May. So we got all of our agreements with all of the hosting locations signed and submitted. Myself and our design and appearance chair will be attending a programming meeting at the DIA in April to learn more about the program and get details about the actual installation too. So we're looking forward to that. Our DDA board tomorrow night is looking to discuss and hopefully finalize our 2026 sponsor brochure. So that will be made available to the public upon approval, so we can start getting some businesses involved with our different events. I also wanted to let you know that previously CES had worked with the DDA about 2 years ago in submitting a funding request through Senator Slotkin for some funds for the ring road and the drain. It was approved back in 2024, and through our work with HUD, we've just now got the portal all up to date, and I'll be meeting this week to start submitting some of those invoices for reimbursement. They cover soft cost, design, and engineering, so hopefully we can start to see some of that come back to the DDA to offset some of the costs that were spent already on that. We have some committee meetings coming up. Our Touch a Truck committee meeting will be on March 17th at Lowe's at 10 a.m. If anybody's interested in helping out with that event, we encourage you to attend. We have our Lion Rock scavenger hunt that'll be coming up April 18th through the 24th. We're still looking for some more businesses to participate and host some prizes for that. And then I also wanted to let you know that we have our Main Street Oakland County Summit that'll be coming up next week on Thursday. We have some DDA board members, township board members have been invited to attend that, where you can learn more about the overall program. And we've been notified by CES that we expect work to resume for the Hawk Signal and Crosswalk. That is expected to start up again April 6th, with hopefully installation being completed by May 22nd. So I was just alerted to that this morning, so we'll have a notice going out to area businesses and be sharing on social media that schedule as it becomes available. And on April 13th to the 16th, I'll have the opportunity to attend our Main Street America conference. That'll be happening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have a large contingency coming from our Oakland County Main Street program, so I'm anxious to get involved with that. And then the Oakland County Economic Outlook Luncheon is also coming up on April 22nd, so I encourage anybody who's interested in learning more about economic development countywide to sign up and attend that. And I have information on registration if anybody would like that. Any questions?
That's a lot. The only thing, this is great information. Is there any way we could put that whole thing on social media or?
Absolutely,
or
we can share that.
The township website? That'd be
Absolutely.
great. I think everybody'd be interested. It kind of, it's kind of funny where, I don't know how they come up with those statistics, but how many people are in a township during the day versus the night.
Absolutely, and a lot of that information is taken directly from SEMCOG website too, so they do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Noble's been open, what, 2 weeks?
Yes, Noble opened a couple of weeks ago, so I had an opportunity to stop in and visit there. The food is fantastic. Please stop in. They do have a little private area too for smaller groups, I believe up to about 20 or 24 people. So if you want a party space to utilize too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, new business, AP 26-05, large land use including large data centers. Special land use standards, text amendment. McKenna? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For discussion this evening, let me start by noting that last week at Monday's Township Board meeting, the Township Board did enact a moratorium which would stop applications of new data centers and large land uses, which noted the standard of 100,000 square feet of building, of gross square footage for buildings or a collection of buildings. So as part of that, we had started a draft of the ordinance that will live within the zoning ordinance to address some of those needs. In addition to the elements that I had already in a draft in progress, the Township Board, following some of the comments that they had heard from the public at their meeting, added a pretty substantial list to make sure that we address. So I want to make it clear that everything that's in this draft tonight, this is a first draft. We're going to go back and address any of the things that were added by the Township Board, which are up on the screen right now, and can also be found in their moratorium that they have executed. So we'll continue to massage this, but this evening my goal is to run through the draft as it sits today, take any questions that the planning commissioners might have, and then I believe we're going to take questions or input from the public as part of this discussion too. We'll come back at a subsequent planning commission meeting. Hopefully an updated draft would be available at your next planning commission meeting, and we can continue to make this what we want it to be, okay? So that's the outline of the process today. Again, I'm just gonna go through this draft of the ordinance. I'm going to stay relatively high level, but if you want to get into details when I'm done, I'm happy to go through those individually. And all of this information for the public's info is available in the packet online, so this draft was available. I'd encourage you to email me any comments or questions that you might have, and we'll consider that as we keep moving through an iterative process to get this adopted. So. The township moratorium, just so you know, the time frame that we're looking at was just over 6 months, so it allowed them to the opportunity to possibly take action in September at their September Township Board meeting. There is an option for extension if need be, so depending on how this process goes in amending the ordinance, that will inform whether or not an extension is going to be required by the Township Board. Okay. That's the process we're in today. I want to start by noting that this ordinance will require a special land use review for any land use or collective land use of 100,000 gross square feet. Again, that's in a single building or collective buildings. So this would cover data centers. It would also cover any of the other permitted uses within the I-1 or I-2 district. So this would include warehouses, assembly plants. Anything that we have listed in that table then becomes a special land use. Because the reality is there are some pretty large parcels, not only on Walbridge but north of Grand River, that are still available that this can come into play. New uses within your wellhead protection overlay district already go through this special land use review, but this would cover those properties that aren't within your wellhead protection overlay district where the uses are still large. I have a list of, I believe it's 18 criteria that we would begin to address at each instance of special land use review. And one of the things that we're trying to accomplish here is, as you know, a lot of these items are covered during detailed engineering review or when the building plans come before the building department or when EGLE does their reviews through our normal course of business. This ordinance, as special land use criteria, you'll get some of those details up front. Right? The details that we're outlining here will come up front before the Planning Commission right at the beginning of a project. So we've included the energy use assessment. So that covers electromagnetic interference, it covers capacity. We heard during public comments that there was concerns that eventually nuclear power generation could come onto sites. So I've covered that in this ordinance. Item number 2 is a water use assessment. So we're requesting both fresh potable water from the municipal system. We want wastewater or gray water that might be used. So if there's rain collection facilities on the site, we would want to know that. We are requesting information about the impact on both the public and private well water sources within a vicinity. So that is covered there. The item number 3, traffic impact study. This is required of all projects today. So this item may or may not come out of this draft ordinance because it's referenced elsewhere in your ordinance. However, I put it in there to try to be all-encompassing as we're going through this first review. Item number 4, sound and vibration assessment. Again, we do have sound and vibration standards in the ordinance elsewhere. And I'm learning a lot as the third-party reviewer is going through the Project Flex plans today too. So one of the items that's going to be associated with the sound and vibration assessment is making sure that both our regulatory sound ordinance and our zoning sound ordinance are compliant with any changes that we might recommend as we move through this.
Can I stop you there for a minute, Brian?
Yes, sir.
I've heard a lot about maybe setting up some kind of a clearinghouse for noise. So if something similar to Project Flex goes in, that the township residents would have a way to find that out right away, instead of like there would be a 811 number that they would call, or whatever that clearinghouse would be. Is that feasible?
I don't have an answer for that, Carl.
Okay, could we look into that, and I'll look into it as well?
Yeah, I think one of the things that
And it makes perfect sense. You just have to coordinate it and maybe look at maybe another community that's done that. I mean, a lot of communities even have a number you call 311 or whatever it is when there's a tree blocking the street, you know, and it doesn't mean it's going to be answered in 6 hours or 6 minutes, but we should have a time limit of, you know, a day or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that that will be helpful is making sure that we have baseline ambient sound limits or recording the existing conditions.
Yes.
Ahead of time, so that's what this is calling for here, so that we have a comparison point. Because if the measurement is 50 today and it's 50 after a facility gets built, well, then they're not adding to that sound. If it's 50 today and it's 75 tomorrow, obviously something has changed.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Thanks.
Item number 5 is our environmental impact assessment. So as it's written here, the pieces that go to the DNR and to Eagle and to the federal agencies that review things, again, that is typical later on in the process, but we're calling for that up front. So there will be an assessment required for water quality, habitat, species, soil impacts, tree removal implications, things like that are all covered under this standard. Item number 6 is a hazardous material storage and waste plan. So one of the things that we've learned as we're talking to the third-party fire professional, as well as other instances of reviews of data centers and other large uses, is this concept of a hazard mitigation plan. So it's not only identifying the processes that go on within a facility, but some of the materials and how we handle them if there's a spill. We've heard concerns about fire in some of the battery pods that are associated with Project Flex, and so all of this information is reviewed during a detailed fire review, but we're calling for it up front so that you have that information. So we will, as part of this, understand the origin of materials that will be on site and associated with the procedure. So not only is that materials that get brought on untreated, but also the product of whatever is happening within the facility.
Could we also add cost to that for mitigation for our fire department? If there was indeed necessary steps that our fire department would have to take, that applicant would be responsible for whatever it was, the specialized equipment or whatever it was.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more in the decommissioning plan.
Okay.
Might be appropriate where we're talking about here too, but we'll find the right spot for it. Item number 7 is a refuse handling plan. So this would be not just your general trash, but anything that's produced on site that is a refuse product. We want to understand how that is generated, how it's intended to be removed, and what the schedule looks like for removal. One of the things we've found in sample ordinances associated with larger land uses are drain tile inspections, so you know that whatever's happening inside a facility is not making it into the drain tile and then into the groundwater. So we call for inspections every 3 years, as I've have it written here, so that those get inspected and make sure that the integrity of the drain tile system is still intact and things aren't getting deposited. So, and just so you know, one of the pieces that goes on during the engineering and the building review, as a matter of course today, is things like floor tiles that we would be potentially concerned about. The building department and the township engineer reviews the drain tile system within a facility. So we know that anything that's in a floor drain is not draining out today, but we're putting that information again right up front. Okay. Item number 9 is a broad one.
So let me, one minute though. So it would stay at 3 years, but it'd be able to inspect it with a so-called, without naming it, a clean out. You'll be able to visually see a clean out.
Correct.
But then it'd have to be, every 3 years, it would have to be gone through completely? Or cleaned out?
With a camera.
With a
I
camera,
mean,
yeah.
it would be, yeah, it would be inspected via camera. at a
Every 3
minimum.
years?
Yeah.
So,
That may or may not warrant an actual clean out of the
yeah.
tile.
So the visual then, you could do upon any inspection every 6 months or every year, whatever the fire department chose? Or would it have to be done by the engineer?
I don't have an answer for that, Carl. I will check with both
Okay.
and see who the appropriate body
I was
is.
just confused, that's why I had a note.
Okay. Item number 9 is a broad assessment and probably bears some more discussion by the Planning Commission, but we heard a lot of comments throughout these past couple months about the social and economic impacts of the data center. I assume that we would have similar concerns about other large and or intensive land uses. So as I have it written here, I'm calling for the impact on lifestyle, culture, community, economic status, health, and well-being. And there's a lot under that umbrella, right? So I intentionally want to give us the ability to require pertinent information to the use that's at hand. So that's why it's written as broadly as it is. But then as we go down this list here too, I'm calling for more specific things, projected tax implications for the township, for Oakland County, for the school systems, and any other taxing entities that would be impacted by the development. I skipped over B, but I do think it's important. We've heard about the question about construction jobs versus full-time jobs, and so all of that information will be documented by any user that goes through this process. Item 10 relating to fuel storage tanks, understanding that some uses are going to need a limited number of tanks. I wanted to make that what I felt like was a reasonable number for this site. We may find one of the things that I'm going to do is go through and see what inventories of underground storage tanks that I can find for the township today, and see what existing buildings, existing facilities have on site, so that we're within the realm of reasonableness for these fuel storage tanks. But what I don't want is massive stores of fuel on any of our sites.
Brian, I have a question on 10.
Yes, sir.
When you say fuel storage, are you including propane?
Yeah, that's a fuel, yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
And do we want any underground storage tanks? I'm just asking. I mean,
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, the ones I've seen are all above.
Yeah.
But that's something
I
to
mean,
look
if it's-
into.
If it's for a generator for life safety and stuff, it won't be that big, first of all, and it shouldn't need to go underground for any reason.
But if it's a gas station of some sort, like the one at 5 Points, those would be required to be underground, I believe.
Yeah, but that's not over, or whatever our size
you're right.
limit is, that's a different special lane.
You're right.
That's a Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
a Buc-ee's gas station.
Correct, right.
Yeah, those are regulated differently.
Yeah. But let me see what's out there, okay? And we'll come back with an idea of what that needs to look like, okay? What's reasonable there. Item number 11, I have generators. I'm saying that on-site power generators are only permitted when they're required by the township fire department. So through this process, we know that our fire department requests and requires in many instances a generator that fuels or that powers life safety devices, whether that's a fire suppression system inside or whether it's pumps. And so we want to allow for that when they're required by the township. Item number 12 relating to BESS, which are battery energy storage systems. There are some regulations at the state level that that govern BESS, and so this is intentionally a little bit light, but the piece that I want to make sure that we include is that anything relating to batteries are found within the hazard mitigation plan that we talked about before, so that our responders know what is on site, what the containment plan is for each one of those things, and how to deal with those to the extent that they can. And then moving right on to the fire protection plan. So all of this information is provided right up front as it lives. One of the things that I think may or may not have to change here is a lot of fire suppression systems are not designed until the building permit phase, right? So there are changes from what could be seen or presented to the Township Planning Commission through the iterative detailed engineering process and then to the building permits. So I do want to make sure that I'm reflecting what the Planning Commission wants to see for those iterative reviews, and to what level of modifications are appropriate from the time that they leave this body to the time that they get presented for a building permit. And, a lot of that will heavily depend on what the fire department wants to see, right? And their third-party reviewers want to see, and what our industry best practices. So it'll depend on.
So will we follow the state guidelines, and then if we wanted to make those a little more stringent, we could, because normally we follow state and federal guidelines, correct?
Yeah.
Brian, so each one of those modifications through the process would still come back to us, correct?
No.
I mean, not necessarily. If they're still within the applicable codes,
Okay.
And they don't impact the design of the building or design of the site in any meaningful way, I guess that's the feedback I'm looking for from the Planning Commission, is if there are changes necessary to meet code and they don't impact what you have seen as a board, does it need to come back? So. Item number 14 here is an extraordinary events plan. Basically, we want to know what to the extent that it is feasible to plan for a catastrophic event, what does that look like, and what is the plan for notification to the township and handling any materials or injuries or other effects of an event.
Brian, what was the answer to Carl's question? In regards to state or local?
The early detention sensors, and that was.
Yeah, all those are reviewed under the fire review for state and federal requirements for those systems, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 15, public facilities assessment. I have impacts to governmental units, so our police, fire. We've talked about stormwater drainage, water supply, sewage disposal. All of that would be documented up front in the process as part of an application. Transportation plan for construction, operations, and things like that. For that item, I know during public comments we heard a question about construction impacts on roads and things like that. So this, in my mind, is a written review or impact from the road commission. Since all the roads are under their jurisdiction, really we're going to be looking for their input on restorative measures that need to occur for a road associated with a project. Item 16 is the decommissioning plan clause, and so part of this, Carl, you asked about before about maybe a performance bond. for elements of the project. I do have a few concerns about how this is written today. It's very strict. It requires basically a performance bond on all the infrastructure on the site, right? The building, the parking lot, the stormwater, all of that is covered as this is written today. But as we've seen where certain buildings end up going vacant, there are people who come in and reuse those buildings with very little change to the exterior infrastructure. They're doing interior build-out changes. So I do want to take a look at how this is written and maybe remove some of the actual building footprint type infrastructure from this bond and relate it to a specific use that may be in place. And if it ends up moving on, then the bond could go backwards or back to that applicant for that, and a new user would submit a new bond pertinent to that particular use.
Brian, what do you think this would cover? I understand like the buildings, like if somebody moves out of Magna, somebody moves back in, but what would be removed? What do you think this decommission plan would be removing? And then we do have cash bonds at the township right now. That's our policy, because in that downturn, we got kind of stuck with some of our egg on our face. So we require cash bonds now. So that would be a hefty bill, but if you're not including the building, if you can think that someone can move into the building, I'd just be curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And one of the things, the specific statement that I'm a little bit questioning how it was written here is, this is kind of standard language for other newer, modern, like solar energy or wind energy uses where operators are actually required in their decommissioning plan to remove 4 to 6 feet worth of the topsoil and any supporting soil, the subsoils, and restore those all the way back. And for most portions of the uses in our township, 4 to 6 feet of removal and replacement of new soil is not, it's not accomplishing what we want, right? I think that maybe removing instances where there have been documented hazards, I'm going to keep going back to, I don't know, if there's an oil spill or something like that, if we do allow a fuel tank and the fuel tank leaks and it breaks its containment, those sorts of instances, maybe we do restorative removal and replacement at those locations. But
would that be covered under MDEQ rules and regulations? I think it is.
Yes. Yeah, so if there was a spill or contamination, then it would come into play. That you're concerned that they would just have to remove all of it without any.
Yeah, what I don't want to do is I don't want to require somebody, if they move out of a building, for example, I'm trying to think of a vacant building that we have in the township right now. Continental. That's its own issue. But even like the Wabasta building, as I understand it, is not being used right now. So I don't believe that it's necessarily fair to require them before they get a shovel in the ground to build that building to submit a cash bond for removal of all the building, all the parking lot, 4 feet deep, restore it. When those are elements of a plan that are likely to get reused when there's a new occupant going in. Okay? Okay. So that's my point on that one. We'll certainly revisit it. That won't be the end of that. Okay. Item 17, abandonment. We're setting 6 months as I have it in this ordinance. I do want to change that to align with our other non-conforming use abandonment. So as I've written it here, if a use is abandoned for 6 months or longer, it should be deemed abandoned and then must be removed. elsewhere in our ordinance, we have language that says when we can document that a use is abandoned, that's when we'll consider it abandoned. So we changed that, I don't know, a year or two ago in our nonconformities section of the ordinance, and I think that it is easier for us to document, and there is less wiggle room. What we found is that things like utility bills, where you're running one computer in the building, end up being a way that somebody can say, well, we've been operating for the last 6 months. Okay, but I wanted to say functionally, nobody's visited that site. You're not using it. So I do want to change that slightly. The last piece here is an agreement that the township would be held harmless for the approval, installation, construction, maintenance, use, repair, or removal of a proposed use. And it gives the township's authority to review and approve what that hold harmless agreement might look like. Okay, so that's the list as it sits today. There are a couple things in the township board's motion that we still have to get to addressing in some way. There are things like light mitigation standards was one of the items that was noted that was not talked about in this draft review, because again, it's one of those items that we have a lighting ordinance in place. We may want to revisit and make that more a bit stricter. So we'll talk about that. We still need to talk about construction noise, non-disclosure agreements. Master plan alignment is one of the items on the bulleted list that is one of our special land use criteria applicable to every single special land use. So I guess this is a good opportunity to note that in addition to the standards that we end up with here, there are 9 standards for all special land uses that they have to meet. So what we're talking about here is in addition to those, and those 9 include master plan alignment. Hyperscale versus regular scale data centers are not in this draft, so we'll need to get to that. School setbacks are not in this draft, we'll need to get to that. Conflicts of interest are not in this draft, and we need to get to that. So, as I mentioned, there's a few outstanding items. We'll bring those back at your direction.
It's a really good start.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else? Thank you.
Set for now.
Oh, well, hold on. You'll be first. You'll be first in line. Let's move to the commission first.
I think it's a great start. Good start.
Yeah, I agree. I think Brian's put some work into this. There's a few things we need to look at, but moving in the right direction. I just said I think we're moving in the right direction. I think Brian's got a good start, and we need to address some of these other things that the board laid out already.
Carl, anything more?
No, I think that these larger structures should be special land use. Could you explain to everybody that's in the audience how a special land use would be different than a site plan review by the Planning Commission, please?
Sure, yeah. So special land uses today are reviewed simultaneously with a site plan. So there is a site plan, but the special land use process includes a public hearing. It includes public notification to any property owner within 300 feet of a subject site. That's a state requirement. So that's the standard that we follow. The newspaper gets a public notice. And so all of those notices go out. The Planning Commission holds a public hearing where your standard operating procedure is we're reviewing the site plan and we're reviewing the special land use at the same time. And then we'll hold the public hearing, take comments. The Planning Commission in that instance then makes a recommendation to the Township Board, and then the Township Board makes a final determination at a next meeting. It's not always the exact next meeting, but the final approval lands in the township board's hands.
Perfect. Thank you.
Rocco?
The only one I have is for the decommissioning. I agree, in certain cases, like the Wabasto, that could potentially be reused by anyone, including like the design group that built a brand new building. But I think we need to be able to put something in there to still protect the township, because if you take almost all of it out, there's nothing you can do on the back end. You know, like Continental left, and we're stuck holding the bag, or whoever the new landowner is. Just a way to help protect all parties.
You're talking about for the, whatever infrastructure ends up being on the site.
Yeah, like a Wabasto, I realize can be reused, but, you know, to the public's point, you have the data center, it's gonna be hard to reuse all 6 buildings unless you break it up into smaller buildings. And then there's the conversation about the parking and all that.
Right. Jeff?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree with my colleagues. I think we're got a good start on where we need to end up. But I think the encouraging thing to me is, we've been sitting here since January, and we've listened. You've had some good points, and I'm glad that we're now taking the time to see some of these, address them, slow things down, and consider, what's important to you, what's important to the township, and the decisions we have to make. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chuck. Patricia?
Same. I know you probably think we aren't listening, but I guarantee you we're listening very carefully and very clearly. We are. We are. This is a good start. We are.
I know water use is probably the most common question asked. And, oh, by the way, I forgot who it was. 2 of us live within a mile and a half of this project. But I'd like to know peak hours.
So we have wells.
And wells, yeah. Peak hours would be important, not just average use.
Thank you.
Good, okay. Numero uno.
Thank you. Jim Cruz, Cobblestone Village, Lyon Township. Brian, if you could scroll back to number 2. I think that's the water assessment portion. Is there a reason why it says that a water assessment should be provided when all the other stuff says shall be provided? I think the word should be replaced with shall. Being as I've sat here for 2 months now and listened to everybody talk about water.
There it is, under B.
And then under item 9, you have a list of social type impact things. And I think that list is pretty inclusive and includes a lot of the stuff that we've heard here for the last 2 months. So kudos to you for capturing all of that. But my question would be, how does an applicant respond to those things? If you ask him to grade himself on a scale of 1 to 10, he's going to say he's a 10 in all those things. And all of us sitting out here are going to say he's a 0. So there needs to be some thought of how to capture a grading scale on those items, because without a grading scale, who determines pass fail for those categories?
Even though we have a scale on the
they're
building
nebulous.
itself, it's still arbitrary.
Right, it's
You know.
arbitrary,
Yeah.
and it's opinionated.
You're
so
right, Jim.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good point.
Doug Wetlack, New Hudson. What you've put together is absolutely excellent. But why are we on the defensive? Why shouldn't we have been on the offensive back a while ago? What you have here is You're with a company that represents all these different counties and townships in Michigan and Ohio. You knew about this type of stuff, but you didn't advise any of these people or anybody from the DDA. They should have known. You know what's going on. Your company knows what's going on. I also have a question is, with McKenna, Verus being a new company, but all of the people with Verus are with other data centers or other companies. Has anybody approached McKenna to target Lyon Township? I'm really curious because it doesn't, this after the fact, I don't think is right.
Hi, my name is Kelly Sullivan.
I can address it.
I'm sorry, start again.
I didn't know if you needed time to respond.
Please respond.
They don't respond to anything.
Your time is up. Could she speak, please? Thank you.
My name is Kelly Sullivan. I live in New Hudson. I know there are many concerns for the special land use ordinance amendment to consider, and I saw a list of future considerations involve schools. As a parent, a grandparent, and a retired teacher, I believe that one of the biggest missteps of Project Flex conditional approval was totally ignoring the proximity of Dolson and Pearson elementary schools. This ordinance amendment should contain safeguards for both students and school staff during the construction phases and full operations of this building. The American Academy of Pediatrics states in their 2025 Pediatric and Environmental Hazards Guidelines that children are often more vulnerable than adults to hazards in their environment. Children's body systems, including their central nervous system, immune, reproductive, and digestive systems, are still developing. And during certain critical windows of time, exposure to environmental toxins can lead to irreversible consequences. Suggestions for consideration in this ordinance amendment to address the health and well-being of students and staff would be, first, no large industrial development within a minimum of 2 miles from a school building. Number 2, strict guidelines and monitoring for noise during and after construction. Violation consequences should have some teeth in them. It should include installation of sound baffling devices at the developer's expense. Number 3, there should be monitoring of airborne particulate matter during and after construction. We know of the uptick of asthma and other respiratory diseases in children. We cannot wait and slap a few fines during construction. That needs to be monitored, and it needs to have some significant consequences. Also, strict air pollution monitoring during and after construction. Violation consequences could include installation of a building-wide HEPA filtration system for an entire school building at the developer's expense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Tartaglia, Martindale Road. This is a good start. Should have been like last year sometime, but that's neither here nor there. I think it lacks teeth, right? And when I'm talking about teeth, I'm talking about performance bonds, restoration bonds, like demolition of a site, okay? Because no one's going to be able to use a site that's got lithium batteries attached to it or diesel fuel tanks buried in the ground. And there's a lot more than 5,000 gallons to cover a hyper data center. An infrastructure bond, so yeah, I get it. It's under Oakland County and state of Michigan, but eventually we're going to get tagged with the cost of fixing those roads, sewers, and other upgrades. As we see on Pontiac Trail, DTE and or its subcontractors are out there right now putting up aluminum poles to cover this data center. So we all got tagged with a $5 increase by the PUC. And a compliance bond, right? Meeting all of those operational limits, noise, water, usage, environmental standards. So this will add some teeth to those fines if they do exceed any of those limits. And a data center, a hyper data center the size of Project Flex, you're looking at anywhere between $50 and $100 million bond. Now, I'm not talking about a cash bond sitting in some vault somewhere. A third-party bond that everyone knows what the deal is, and if they misstep it, then we deduct it. It's just an SLA, all right? You miss that SLA, here's your speeding ticket, and off we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Stephanie Watson again. I just also wanted to add to other comments, acknowledging that the draft ordinance that McKenna put together is a lot of work in a short amount of time. So I really appreciate that. A lot of thought went into it, and appreciative of what is in there. I do have comments on actually all 17 points, which I can't fit in tonight, but I had process questions because the scope of the project of what this ordinance discussion is in the moratorium. So the timeline and public access. So I know the McKenna memo to you guys said that a second draft was proposed for the next meeting. But will that be posted? I assume that we can all read and then bring feedback to. Last week, Township Supervisor Dolan specifically stated back to residents that the public would be able to weigh in on each of these points. So I guess I'm just asking if you guys can maybe define the scope of this. What is our availability to be involved in this process? Are there public comment periods on certain sections? Would there be written submission windows that we could submit commentary towards, or a workshop? There's a lot of really smart people in our community that have come forward, and it would be great. I know, like, to tackle all 17 in one meeting is gonna be a lot, but maybe if there's like a focus, like today we're gonna talk about water, today we're gonna talk about school setbacks or whatever. So just understanding and laying out maybe the scope and the rules of engagement on that would be really great to set expectations with the public. Second question I had was the McKenna memo stated that the commission will recommend standards if they are deemed appropriate enough through the ongoing discussion. The township's board moratorium directed a review of those 17 topics. So who gets to determine, I don't know what's going on, sorry. If they're appropriate.
We recommend to the board.
Yeah, so are you guys gonna be able to take some of these bullet points and just remove them?
Tip the microphone down just a little bit.
By what standard? If you guys say, hey, I don't think a fire safety is required, can you just take it out? I'm just trying to understand that when it says if they're deemed appropriate enough through discussion, if it's something to your point earlier where it's like this might be covered in another ordinance, then maybe that makes sense. But just trying to understand that process would be helpful as well for transparency. And then, like I said, I actually wasn't sure what the process was going to be. So I tried to prepare notes on all 17 bullet points, and of course my printer failed me. So I will email that. I was going to hand you a letter, but I will email that to the Township Planning Commission so that it hopefully could be included in the official record. It states what the current draft addresses, where there are gaps, like school setbacks, other things like that, and specific language that I was concerned about. I just wanted to say in closing, I guess the community is watching this process carefully, and the moratorium was a unanimous vote, right? Those 17 topics weren't suggestions, they were direction, and we really appreciate you guys honoring that as a commission and taking it seriously. So, and like I said, just asking for transparency over the next 6 months what that process is, just so we can be prepared. That would be great. So, thank you.
Julianne Sleek again, Lyon Township resident. Thank you for putting the time and effort into this, Brian. After being at last week's meeting, it's evident that you took what the township trustees kind of laid out and really ran with it. So that is appreciative. And I guess thank you for considering and thinking through this process with the rest of the community. I would like to say that I know you don't agree that maybe someone should put forth an entirely cash bond for the entire building, but driving past Continental Aluminum every day, and I have no idea what size building that is, if it even achieves 100,000 square feet, but it is an eyesore, a major eyesore. Every time you walk by on the trail, you see it. I mean, it's not a great look for our community. So it would be great if something the size of 12 Oaks Mall, actually larger, goes under, if they had some skin in the game. A little bit more than just to cover the bare minimum. And then also, I would urge you as a commission that anytime something, well, that you've learned from this process, and anytime something comes before you that is only going to require one meeting to approve, that you think twice about it. So that the rest of the community, the trustees, have a chance to learn about that. I know they have the opportunity to come to this meeting, but I'm not so sure that anyone besides Patty is going back and forth and relaying information. So I would just encourage you to take a moment and pause anytime something comes before you that only needs one review. That's
Great, thank you.
Hi there, Vanessa Torres, South Lyon. I wanted to flag 3 things. The first was, if you're not aware, Howell Township created a resident research committee to help with their upcoming, not moratorium, just ordinance language. That might be something you want to consider to meet the needs of, hey, how do we actually ensure that we're all getting our feedback to you? I'm sure you could reach out to folks in Howell and see how they are organizing that. The other is when we're talking about communication and notices for new developments. Obviously, the state requires quite an antiquated way to communicate this to the community. That's newspaper. I know that everybody knows what social media is. You've probably got individual Facebook accounts. I think most of us belong to at least one, Nextdoor group or Facebook group or something like that. Obviously, you can't cover all of them, but making sure that we establish some other means of communication beyond just, hey, did you ever come by and scan your QR code to get your updates? Or did you ever check the website or the newspaper? That would be helpful to do. Like a top 10 of Facebook groups or whatever that are used. And then the other. Sorry about that. 1 second. Sorry, I think actually that covered it. Should have brought my notes. And then the other thing is that if you have any questions, we do have folks who are from the local nonprofit that has started. It's No Data Center Lyon. Back of the room, if after the meeting you wanted to discuss, we'd be glad to do so. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, Shelley again. I would like to, I'm really appreciative of what we've got started here. I think it's a great point to start. But I would like to wonder if we're going to have any implementation of construction hours, because if this is going to be a 6-year project for any of these, whether it's this one or a future one, if it's going to be a 12-hour day of construction, anyone close to it is not going to be able to sustain that. Also, establish penalties for those that go against either construction hours, water usage, traffic. Also, what will be the noise allowance during construction for these sort of centers? No generations for operations due to power outages, period, I think should be in there. This will alleviate a lot of coming back to the table.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
No generators, period, outside of emergency use, like for fire and that sort of thing. The soil mitigation on a per basis, I agree with. However, I am curious about having more of a residential to proximity to residents and to schools, and also proximity to waterways, the Huron Rivershed. Also, if these places are abandoned, what are we going to do to ensure that the property is secure to stop loitering, hangouts, you know, kids are gonna do what kids do. And if it's a dark way and the power's out and there's no gated and they're driving back there and they're partying, that's a concern. Also, I do think that we really do need to have them decommission these buildings fully, because these buildings aren't high ceilings. They don't have much repurpose use. They'll never be fit for manufacturing. It's not zoned for retail. What will it become?
Pickleball.
That's not tall enough for pickleball either. I mean, it's a lower ceiling. Some of them are lower than this. They're pretty low ceiling for anything future industrial. And most manufacturing requires a much higher ceiling clearance. So that's it. But I am curious about, I would like to see some bond in there about abandonment and deconstruction, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, have you heard a time frame on construction? I've heard 18 months up to, what, 6 years?
Thank you.
For Project Flex?
Yes. Yeah, that project.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say the first 3 buildings in the first 18 months. And then
Yeah,
one
it's
a
gonna
year
be
after
built
that.
out of, I think they said 5 years.
Eric said 6 years.
Yeah,
And at the 22nd.
5 to 6 years.
The gentleman that spoke said it would be 8 years.
I'm here again. Maybe Walbridge could let us know, but I thought the height of the buildings was somewhere around 5-story, 49, 48 feet high with the thing on top. They're gonna be pretty big buildings. They're not gonna be like the place across the street, the low white one that's over there. They're gonna be big, and they're gonna be right up against the road on just a small setback, so.
Okay.
That's one thing. Just a thought, Brian, maybe a footnote on some of these things that have an ordinance attached to them. Like you see in writings, you put a footnote with the ordinance number, and then you could refer, or we could refer to that ordinance and look it up.
Talking about like the noise and the light that I mentioned or elsewhere.
Right, you could say that's a little, they used to use a little funny thing in school. And there is a very good app called What's Happening in Lyon Township. Great place to put a blurb in about a meeting or a project that you think the public should be aware of. That would be a good start. What about changes to a plan that's already submitted? If they say, well, we're not going to use generators, but then they start building and they decide, well, we're going to use this other fancy thing. Do they have to be approved for those? Or since they're already there, can they just unhook a generator and hook up something new?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, the existing uses are required when they make changes like that to standards. They're required to comply with current ordinance. So if we adopt, let's say we adopt this at our next available time, which we're not going to do, but if this goes forward, and Project Flex is already standing and they come back and do an amendment, they're subject to the ordinance.
So they can't say, we're not going to do this and then do that, and they can't have a closed loop system that doesn't function quite the way they think it's going to, so now we're going to try something else new
It's gotta come
without
back to
it
us.
being approved. Okay, and then these things would protect us from those changes on existing buildings.
And this goes with any existing building that's out there today, whether it's Magna or NLP
Okay.
or any of those
Okay,
that
perfect.
meet 100,000 square feet.
I've heard some things about the Celine, that the woman that sued, the judge's response was, well, they're already working on it, so it's a no, you know, it's going. I want all the work stopped on that property. They don't need to be out there grading it or doing anything on that property until this is officially okayed to work. Because they were out in Saline before they were totally approved building. DTE was out there putting up stuff, and that can't happen because that's not going to be the excuse here that goes through.
You got it.
and you're on air, so we
That's
got
right,
you.
that's right. And you and I will stop them.
Okay. Traffic study. I was at the meeting for the tribute, just happened to be here. And they did a traffic study, and it was gonna be no problem and I thought tribute was gonna be a lot more houses than the 287. They did the traffic study in August at, 9 o'clock in the morning. Number one, kids weren't in school. People are on vacation. Let's do it at like 4:30, 5 o'clock on Milford Road. How about Grand River? How about waiting until there's an accident on the freeway and you can't even get down Grand River? And we're gonna be having, according to Celine, they've got hundreds of trucks coming in there. This isn't gonna be 1 or 2 trucks a day. This is gonna be coming and going, loaded, unloaded, and a constant beep, 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 beep all day long, and the banging of the trucks. The noise is gonna be ridiculous, and then you top it off with a subdivision going in right next door. And we're gonna be sitting on our patio going, what the heck? This isn't right. There's something you said, 300 feet. I think it should be more than that. 300 feet really isn't that much when you're talking about a 49-foot building. And you're in an apartment complex that faces that building. You're gonna have to look up to see over it from your balcony. 300 feet is nothing. There should be a bigger setback from roads, especially when they're in residential communities. If it's sitting out in the middle of the field, nowhere, who cares? But you guys stuck this right in the middle of our community, right on our main street going to our beautiful downtown area. And now we have an airport. It's gonna look like an airport at night. I don't care what you say about your downlights, it is gonna be bright. And the rows of trees along Milford Road, probably guarantee you those are all gonna be cut down so they can put in whatever drainage or sewers along the road. And right now, that's a really nice sound protector. And they're all black oaks, which are, you could probably sell them. Have someone come in and cut them for the wood. They're valuable trees. Continental Can, the green building with the Quonset hut and the White House has to go. We need to rezone that to commercial, something that gives us a downtown area.
You're getting off subject.
I know.
Let's stay on
Utility
subject.
bills. I want protection on my utility bill. I don't want to be paying $350, $400 for my power because we're all paying for what has to be done for these data centers. That is not right. And I don't want to have to pay for more water towers in my taxes because of what's being done for the data centers. That's not right. Okay, I can't think of anything else.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great.
Excuse me, Robin Allen. On the original site plan, Brian, did it call for backup generators?
Yes.
Okay. And then was there a revised site plan submitted after that where there were no generators required?
Robin, are we talking about Project Flex or the ordinance?
Project Flex.
Okay, we're talking about the ordinance right now, not Project Flex.
Well, I thought. Okay. All right. Okay. In regards to lighting, as the lady just said, I believe it's the Coca-Cola bottling plant off South Hill Road. If that's the one, that already looks like an airplane landing strip. So I can only imagine what the data center, the amount of light will be coming from that. And last thing is, if this goes bankrupt, or not bankrupt, but in 6 or 8 years, it's obsolete. We already have Continental Aluminum. We already have an abandoned building in this township. We don't need another thing like that. Okay, that's it.
Great, thank you.
Hello, Randy Fletcher. I live in Lyon Township. I hate speaking publicly. But at the very beginning, you guys mentioned the 100,000 square foot building. And somebody did explain to me that the reason it didn't matter for this is because it's not an industrial building, which everybody can debate that, but the rules in your guys' writing says you're not manufacturing anything, so that's why they were able to get this through and you didn't have any problem. So in this new one, we can stop anything over 100,000, whether it's industrial or not industrial, right?
All land uses.
Okay, so that's what I was hoping. I wish that was in there before, because then you would at least have one reason to say, yeah, this doesn't work. So.
Yeah, that's why we're tweaking everything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for their comments. We will be having, you coming up?
Could you inform everybody that that's here tonight how they could follow the progress of this?
Sure. Do you want to do that at the end?
Yeah.
I thought we were at the end.
Well, one more. We got. Did you? Sorry, I forgot your name. Come on.
Okay, under the new ordinance that we want to go into, if like lighting, like the Coca-Cola plant, if any of the existing buildings, if any of them are going to go past that, will it affect them or will they be grandfathered in?
They'll be able to operate lighting that's on the approved final site plan when it becomes approved. Yes.
Yes, so will they have to adhere to those rules and regulations?
If they amend the site plan, they would, yes. But their site plan will be subject to their original approval. So the ordinance, the lighting ordinance that's in effect today is what would apply to the Project Flex.
How about anything else like, the sound or any of those other items? Would any of the businesses be affected?
The same. The current ordinance. The current ordinance, yes.
Brian, can you address that? Follow up.
Yes, so we will, staff and the township's attorneys and township's engineers, fire officials will have reviewed the progress to this. So I'm going to take feedback that we hear tonight, feedback that I got from the Planning Commission, and start building upon the draft that's already here. We'll get everybody's input and feedback from a professional standpoint, and then the next draft we will put out for the next Planning Commission agenda. So typically we aim for the Tuesday or Wednesday before your meeting is when the agenda goes out and all of the supplementary materials will go out too. So whether it's just this or whether we have other applicants to review site plans, things like that, all that will go out, I'll say no later than the Wednesday before your meeting. Okay. In the meantime, I heard several people say that they'd like to submit their comments, and I would encourage you to do that. All the planning commissioners' email addresses are on the Planning Commission webpage on the township site. You can also include me so I can help incorporate that into the upcoming draft. my contact information, both the planning at liontwp.org or my McKenna email address is on the township's website also. So please submit that to everybody up here. And when you include the planning commission members, that's when we're putting, if you look at the meeting packet online, there's a, actually let me bring it up so everybody sees exactly what that looks like. No internet. Okay. Sorry. There is a link on Lyon Township's main webpage for meeting packets. It's a bright green button at the bottom of the main page. And if you navigate to the Planning Commission packet, there's a consent agenda that includes correspondence to the Planning Commission. Okay, so anything that gets sent to the Planning Commissioners, we're saving in there and we're putting in that folder so then it becomes part of the record for the next meeting. So the Planning Commissioners, as they're reviewing their packets, will have access to anything that they haven't caught through their email. So that'll be the next time we talk about this ordinance draft publicly. We'll be at the Planning Commission. We won't be taking action on it at the next meeting also. What I'd like to do as we move forward is when we get closer to a finished product, I want to make sure that we're announcing when the public hearing is going to be and things like that. Looking down the road, the Planning Commission, once a public hearing is called, this body will review that. You'll have an opportunity, that'll be the formal public hearing, if you will. After that, the Planning Commission would make a recommendation to the Township Board to approve the updated ordinance. And then the then the Township Board will review that recommendation and they have the opportunity to add or subtract, be more stringent if they need to. They could also remit it back to the Planning Commission for some additional work if they need to. So. And then when the Township Board is comfortable with the ordinance, they do 2 readings. So it will be on at least 2 Township Board meetings after the Planning Commission's public hearing. So we've got a lot of work left. I don't know if you want more or less detail than that. I do think some of the comments about getting feedback in alternative ways are interesting and something that we should talk about, but I don't think we can solve tonight.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Our next meeting's Monday, April 13th.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a question?
No.
One question.
Just to follow procedure, I know typically you guys ask for like name and full address, and if we submit things by mail and then they're put in the packet and then our full address is put online, as well as just like, now that these are on YouTube, putting our full address out, I have like safety concerns about that. Is it possible when you post residents' emails in those packets, could you redact that information that's in there? Or, I mean, I understand that it's important. I just don't know what the rules are on that.
Can't she just send it to the administrator of the Planning Commission?
You could, and we typically wouldn't publish addresses that if you ask not to, I mean, you don't have to include your address. Your email
Okay, well,
address
sometimes in
will
the
be
public comment here, like typically you guys do ask us to state our full address, so.
They ask, but it's not required.
Okay, that's why I wanted to understand, because I've
Right.
looked at some packets and full resident addresses are posted in the packets online.
If they were included, then they would be.
Okay, so you're comfortable with whatever information we put in there?
Yes.
In that
it-
regard?
It will be read,
Yep,
yes.
okay, that's all I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
fugitive.
Deborah, do you have anything to add, Deborah?
I'm sorry.
Anything to add?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Wait. Don't be too fast on the draw.
Yeah, community report.
Do you want the report from the board?
No.
Okay. No problem.
I'll support your motion.
All right.
You can watch it online.
I did.
Community
Yeah, I
report.
watched it.
So we have a motion and support.
No community report.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Flexible.
I have.
Sorry.
Way to go, Cook. Good job, bro. Great job.